Hello, everybody. I'm back for another movie review, and you have to apologize to me because I have a bit of a head congestion right now, so my voice is going to sound a bit hoarse and a bit froggy. But I'll try to push through this as best as I can, and I want to try to talk about this movie real fast before I go out to enjoy some festivities for this weekend. I am glad to see that the Mario Brothers movie is opening up this weekend. I'm glad to see that it's doing very well financially and critically. It's kind of getting mixed opinions, but it is to be expected for a video game based film. But I figured I want to let people know that the Mario Brothers film coming out this weekend was not the first time the Italian Plumber got a release in the theaters. Back in 1993, to commemorate the 30th anniversary, is when we got Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers was a fantasy adventure slash science fiction, if you will, film that came out back in 1993 and was basically the first, at the time, this was actually the first film adaptation ever made based on a video game. So obviously, Super Mario Brothers, Mario and Luigi are obviously the famous Italian plumbers, except they actually run a plumbing business, which is something they really overemphasize very much in the movie, that they really are plumbers. And they get caught up in they basically get caught up in a plot to save a beautiful princess, Daisy, who gets taken to a world called Dino Hatton. And of course, apparently, 65 million years ago, when the asteroid that supposedly wiped out the Earth and killed pretty much all the dinosaurs of the time, apparently it opened up a parallel dimension. And in that dimension, the remnants of the dinosaurs have managed to thrive and evolve into intelligent species like us. And Mario and Luigi ultimately get caught up, and ultimately have to go through that portal to Dino Hatton to rescue Daisy from the villainous King Koopa, played by Dennis Hopper. The one thing I gotta say is Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, to be honest, they were actually pretty good choices to play Mario and Luigi. I mean, Bob Hoskins was, at the time, one of the few actors that definitely resembled Mario very well. John Leguizamo, same as Luigi. I mean, at the time, I think they were good casting choices. So what follows is basically a series of action scenes, special, you name it. So honestly, I'm sure people are going to watch this video and think, oh, geez, you're really going to review this movie? Because I am very well aware of the immense hatred that this film has. And that's why one of the things I definitely want to talk about when it came out. When this movie was first announced in, I'm assuming 91 or 92, of course, the directors of the film, Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel, were at the time responsible for the TV show Max Headroom, and they were given the opportunity to adapt Super Mario Brothers into a feature-length movie. And so basically what we got instead is a movie that basically resembles very little of the game adaptation of the game that it's supposed to be based on. Because when anybody that walked into the film, people are like, what does this have to do with Super Mario Brothers? I mean, first of all, Dennis Hopper being King Koopa. Oh, you mean Bowser, the main villain of Mario Brothers? Why does he not look like a lizard? Well, I know his hair's kind of scaly looking, sort of like a lizard's, but that's Dennis Hopper. And these things are supposed to be Goombas? They don't even look anything like the Goombas from the game, do they? No, they don't. And to take people back for a brief moment, at the time when Super Mario Brothers came out, I want to point out that at the time there were at least 6 video games made based on the character himself, Mario. Now, of course, this does not count all the puzzle or sports-related games like Dr. Mario or Super Mario Kart or any of the other ones. I'm talking like the actual 2D side-scrollers. We had 3 on the NES, Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3. We had 2 on Game Boy, Super Mario Land and Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. And we had one on the Super Nintendo, Super Mario World. So we had 6 video games made. And yet the movie doesn't even take any credit from it takes no material from any of those games. It literally goes on its own little tangent. Which I give it some credit because they actually tried to do something unique. But at the same time, when you're adapting a video game into a feature-length film, your main target audience are going to be the fans of that video game that this movie is supposed to be based on. And what we got instead was a film that was entirely different than anything that any of the fans would have recognized in the movie. Now, the funny thing is, when the movie opens up, right after the main logo, you hear the infamous 8-bit Mario theme, and that's really all you get. The rest of the movie, I mean, yeah, there are like little references littered throughout the film, like, Mario-related, terms that everybody's obviously going to recognize, like Thwomp, Koopa, Goombas. Even Yoshi makes an appearance as like a tiny little velociraptor. Princess Daisy, who was the princess from the Super Mario Land on Game Boy, but was obviously not the princess in the Mario Brothers or Mario World. That was Princess Toadstool, who later became Peach. Or probably was named Peach in Japan, but over here we named it as Toadstool, but eventually we used the term Peach. We call her Peach now. The movie obviously was made on a healthy budget of $42 million, and it was released theatrically by Hollywood Pictures, which, they're name on the back here. I had the DVD for a while before I decided to upgrade to the Blu-ray, which, the Hollywood Pictures was a subdivision of Disney. So technically, in a way, Mario Brothers is a Disney film, almost. Well, I take that back. It literally is, since it was released by Hollywood Pictures, a subdivision of Disney. Technically, it is a Disney film. And it was released in 1993, and it was a very anticipated film upon its release because any fan who submitted to was, had a contract, had a subscription to Nintendo Power, they basically, Nintendo Power had literally a massive article detailing about the making of the Mario Brothers movie. So this was already hyped. But when it came out in 93, it opened up and it quickly faded away almost as quick as it came. And it was met with very harsh reviews by critics. And if the critical reaction was not enough to get the film pulled out of the theaters fast, 2 weeks after the film debuted is when Jurassic Park opened up. And when that came out, this movie was quickly kicked to the curb or swept away as fast as it came. And in the end, the movie only grossed a mere $20 million domestically. So yes, the movie was a critical and financial failure. Over the years, Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo have both spoken out negatively about the film. Bob Hoskins admitted in a 2007 interview that he was asked, what was the worst thing you ever did? And if there was any movie you could, remove from your past, what would it be? And he answered, he actually didn't even hesitate. As soon as he heard those questions, he immediately said, Super Mario Brothers. Worst piece of garbage I ever seen in my life. Literally. John Leguizamo, worst piece of garbage I ever worked on, ever. John Leguizamo admitted in an autobiography that during the filming of the movie, he and Bob Hoskins would constantly get drunk during the production. Even Dennis Hopper has gone on to express discern about the movie too, and he admitted that he was working on the film way longer than he should have been. He was supposed to be only there for a few weeks shooting the movie. He ended up being there for close to 15 or 17 weeks, and he actually said that and all three actors have gone on to admit that working with the directing team on the film, yeah, they said it was a total nightmare. The script was constantly changing and whatnot. Yeah, they said it was an absolute nightmare to work on. But, sorry to say, even though this movie did go on to be a critical financial failure, but once it came out on home video, all of a sudden, the film suddenly got a massive upsurge in popularity. It suddenly developed a huge cult following. And although, in the years that followed, following year in 94, we got two more video game film adaptations, which were Double Dragon and Street Fighter, and although Double Dragon was, again, a critical financial failure, Street Fighter was a critical failure, but financially, not so much. The movie actually was a hit, believe it or not. Eventually, one of those days, I'll talk about them, so. But the funny thing is, at the time, Super Mario Brothers, there was no other film to compare it to, because, like I said, this was the first video game film adaptation ever made. So. And honestly, when I watch the film, I actually kind of find it pretty enjoyable. There's a lot of great stuff in it. It's actually nonstop entertainment, literally. I mean, the effects in the film were done very well. The practical effects were all done by Patrick Tatopoulos, who would go on to work on movies like Stargate and Independence Day and Godzilla, a lot of films with Roland Emmerich, and he would go on to work on the Underworld movies. And of course, Patrick Tatopoulos also went on to work on two other films that have gotten such critical hammering, and yet they're considered two of the worst films of their time, which are Lawnmower Man 2 and Battlefield Earth, believe it or not. Who knows? I'll get to those eventually. The production design, and some people have actually referred to Super Mario Brothers as a bit of a Blade Runner knockoff, which is funny because the movie does have a bit of a Blade Runner feel to it, which is interesting because the production designer of Blade Runner was David L. Snyder, and, well, what do you know about that? He was also the production designer on Super Mario Brothers. Mark Goldblatt, the editor, he received an Academy Award nomination for his editing on Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Oh, and the film was scored by Alan Silvestri. Nice. Long before, this was after Back to the Future, and long before he scored the main theme for the Avengers. You got a decent cast here. I mean, Samantha Mathis, she's been in a few things. Fisher Stevens, people remember him as the Plague from the movie Hackers. Fiona Shaw, she's been in a few things. It's funny because she did appear in a movie based on a video game, but many years later she would appear in another movie that also wasn't based on a video game, but it was a movie that kind of dealt around video games, and that was Pixels. So yeah. Richard Edson, who actually appeared in another movie that got such critical derailing, which was Howard the Duck, and yet he managed to find work in this movie. So, yeah, I mean, well, look at that. Ed Solomon, who was one of the creators of Bill and Ted, was one of the writers on Super Mario Brothers. So, honestly, I would say if you haven't seen this movie, I'd give it a try. You never know. It's actually a pretty enjoyable film. It really has a lot of entertaining moments. The practical effects are pretty cool. The actual CGI effects, I think are still pretty impressive. So, my personal opinion about the movie is if you can just accept the fact that the movie, although it's called Super Mario Brothers, that tried to remove the fact from your brain that this movie has almost nothing to do with the video game that it's supposed to be based on. If you can try to remove that fact from your mind, you might actually find it a pretty entertaining film. I'd give this movie a try. It's actually a lot of fun. It's not the best. Like, when it comes to best video game adaptations, I would, probably, like I said, I probably wouldn't recommend it. But if you can accept it as a film of its own, this actually is a fun movie. It really is a lot of fun. Like I said, if you can just accept the fact that it is a very loose adaptation of the video game, just try to accept that fact. I might as well talk about the Blu-ray here. Now, this Blu-ray that I currently have of Super Mario Brothers was released by an Australian company called Umbrella Entertainment, which I must give them absolute kudos for putting out a release of the film that I can finally play on my PS3 at least. The Blu-ray, all the bell though in the back it says is Region B. I believe it is all region compatible. It will play on anything, which is nice. And of course, inside here, here's the Blu-ray. This is an actual legit release by Umbrella. I actually got this off of eBay, so I was really happy to finally own a copy of the film that, can actually play, which is awesome. I bought a UK Blu-ray, which unfortunately won't play unless you got an all-region player, which is nice. And of course, you can see it has a reversible cover sleeve, which, the major difference between that is this little PG low-level violence, well, it's not a sticker, but it's like a little slogan thing they slapped on the front. So if you wanted to swap both versions out, it's fine with you. The image quality on the Blu-ray, honestly, the film is presented in 185x1 widescreen anamorphic, which is nice because the DVD had the film in a non-anamorphic format, which is, like I said, I a lot of times where you have to adjust the TV to get the picture to fit the screen perfectly. But this one, though, however, you don't have to do that. The image fits the screen perfectly. And honestly, the image quality on the disc is absolutely gorgeous. This is the best I definitely have ever seen the film look. I mean, the first time seeing it on TV, and then eventually the DVD, and now finally this. And the DVD didn't have a bad picture quality either. Even when I formatted the picture to fit the screen, it still looked pretty good. But yeah, the Blu-ray is a big improvement. I would say out of 5 stars, I'd give the video quality on the disc probably a 4.5. That's how good it looks. Lots of detail I never even noticed, and even in the DVD version. As for the audio, it's only presented in 2.0 DTS, but honestly, it sounds good. It sounds very good. This is actually, the dialogue comes out well, the sound effects, the explosions, yeah, there are explosions in the film. The sound effects, the dialogue, all come out very well, actually. I would say for the video audio out of 5 stars, I'd say it's just as good as the movie looks. I'd say 4.5 out of 5. As for the bonus features, well, we actually do get a nice amount of material here to look at. The DVD by Hollywood Pictures, by the way, had no extras. Not even a trailer, which Blu-ray actually does. Most of the stuff, all the stuff pretty much came from the UK release. A lot of it did. This ain't no video game featurette, which is a making of. It's basically, instead of it being a featurette, it should be a documentary because it runs a little over an hour long, and it's a very comprehensive look at the making of the film. And it features various people that worked on the movie. Little making of, it's another one. Basically, you got electronic press kit, EPKs, which are little featurette interviews with cast members. Behind-the-scenes footage, stuff that was actually shot during the movie, galleries, stills, storyboards, and concepts, which is pretty cool, like storyboards, conceptual art that was done during the film's production. Believe it or not, there's even an alternate version of the film available on the Blu-ray here, an extended work print version with deleted scenes. The deleted scenes are obviously not in the best of quality, like they obviously didn't do any, revisioning to make these scenes look better. So the work print is just, it's the same movie as the theatrical release, but with all the deleted scenes added in. So it's an interesting look at the movie if you wish to, check it out in a different way. But it is really nice to have some of these extras appear, which is really cool. Unfortunately, no commentary track, which is kind of disappointing. But all in all, this is actually a nice little collection of extras to look at. I would say out of 5 stars for the bonus material, I would say probably 4.5 out of 5 because, like I said, the original DVD release didn't have anything on it. It was completely bare bones. But we get all this stuff, which is, a welcoming sight to see for anybody that's a diehard fan of the movie. So, honestly, yeah, I mean, this is actually a very solid release by Umbrella. The Blu-ray, the image quality is beautiful, the audio is superb, the extras are fantastic. This is all around, this is definitely, like, for fans of the movie, this is like a godsend to them. Literally. And, of course, I would definitely check this movie out. If anybody that still has a copy of it might want to give it a try before diving into the new one, which, no doubt, I can't wait to see myself because, it already looks pretty awesome. And another fun fact I want to pass out is when Bob Hoskins was working on Super Mario Brothers, he had actually no idea that the movie he was making was even based on a video game. He had no idea until his kid showed him the video game cartridge in his Nintendo library, which is kind of funny to say the least. And of course, Mario's creator, Shigeru Miyamoto, he kind of had mixed opinions about the movie. Kind of had his ups and downs about the film. He said, yeah, they tried. Yeah, basically, in simpler terms, yeah, they tried, but obviously he, expressed his discern for the movie, so. But it is nice to know that in the years to follow, and like I said, 30 years later, the movie has developed a huge following among fans. They see past the absurdity, and they actually see an entertaining film here. And that's exactly what Super Mario Brothers is. It's actually a fun and entertaining movie that you should definitely give this movie a try. Even if you've heard so much negative word of mouth, give this one a try. But again, I gotta let you know, when you watch the movie, and if you're familiar with the video games that it's supposed to be based on, it has almost nothing to do with the games that it's based on. It doesn't. So if you can retract that memory from your mind, you actually will find a very entertaining film here. But if you're expecting the movie to be an adaptation of the video game, then yeah, you're going to be disappointed. Which there are many YouTube critics and fans who have actually said, yeah, when it comes to worst video game movie adaptation, yeah, this one often ranks among the worst. But I'm here to say, I think that's a bunch of baloney. I actually find a pretty solid, entertaining film here that's definitely worth recommend. I recommend it. And if that wasn't enough here, I actually have something else included as well. Believe it or not, I actually have the soundtrack to Super Mario Brothers on CD here. Now, this is not the film score by Alan Silvestri. I don't even know if that one's even available, but this is basically the all the music from the soundtrack. And we actually got a nice list of songs here, groups here. Roxette with their song Almost Unreal, which was a huge hit when it came out. Love is the Drug by the group The Divinals, which anybody is familiar with the song I Touch Myself, that's probably their most famous one. Walk the Dinosaur, which was a song made in the past, but it was redone by a group called the Goombas, featuring George Clinton. I Would Stop the World, Charles and Eddie. I Want You, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. That's when actor Mark Wahlberg was a hip-hop star. Where Are You Going by the rock band Extreme. Speed of Light by Joe Satriani, who is mostly known for doing orchestral songs without lyrics, which is pretty cool, but it's still not a bad group. Even Megadeth did a song for the movie, Breakpoint. That's pretty cool. And they got a Queen song, Tie Your Mother Down. And a song called Cantaloupe performed by the band Us 3. So all in all, this is actually not a bad soundtrack to go with the movie. Some of the songs were not included in the movie, but Roxette's Almost Unreal does play during the end credits, which is pretty cool, and it's actually a really good song. But this is actually not a bad selection of tunes here. This is a good one to kill some time, which is pretty cool. Yeah, nice little picture. I might as well quickly look at the open sleeve here, which is pretty neat. So yeah, those are images from the movie. There's, of course, little Yoshi and, of course, the Goombas, which, like I said, don't even look like the Goombas from the games. Mario and Luigi, of course. There's Princess Daisy, and there's Fiona Shaw, and there's King Koopa. So all in all, like I said, the soundtrack is actually a lot of fun. So again, this one was actually rather tricky to find. Actually, this one is out. It's also out of print. It's very hard to get a hold of. But if anybody out there that owns the soundtrack on CD, you actually found yourself a good find. So this is actually pretty good. It accompanies the movie really well. So, all in all, Super Mario Brothers, I actually recommend it. If you didn't care for the movie, if you obviously think it's a horrible piece of garbage, I don't hate you for that. That's your opinion. Understandable. But for anybody that actually found this film enjoyable, you're not the only one. I actually found it pretty enjoyable to watch myself. Over time, it grew on me, which is nice. Despite being one of the worst reviewed films of 1993, it did not receive any Golden Razzie nominations, surprisingly, but it did pick up 2 Saturn nominations for makeup and for costumes, which is pretty cool. So, it's got that. But all in all, give it a try. Definitely give it a try. If you can find the Blu-ray by Umbrella, this is actually a solid release of the movie. Like I said, the Blu-ray is fantastic, the video is great, audio is fantastic, the extras are plentiful. So, all in all, highly recommended. My personal opinion, I would definitely recommend it. So, this concludes the presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will continue to do more videos in the days to come, and I hope everybody has a great and safe Happy Easter this weekend. And until then, take care and be safe.